so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life? Well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Wednesday interviewing a different consciousness changemaker. And on the other 4 weekdays, leading the way to ensure that your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. Also, before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to take about a minute and a half to tell you about a few sponsors that not only help to make it possible to produce this show 5 days a week, but that I'm also genuinely passionate about promoting. The first longtime stellar supporter of the show that I want to mention is Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online with over 8,000 video titles. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. The second sponsor I'm sincerely passionate about promoting is Purium. It's no mystery that bringing your mind, body, and spirit into balance is necessary if a person truly intends to manifest the greatest and grandest version of themselves. So if you've been looking for a way to easily get organic superfoods into your system every day with a simple plan that can help you reestablish a healthier foundation and relationship with food, like I was doing before I found Purium, I highly recommend going to positivehead.com/transformation and checking out the videos and interviews there where I dive deeply into discussions explaining why I take these products every day. And should you ultimately end up on iShopPurium.com to purchase any of their 50 plus amazing superfood products, be sure to use the code POSITIVEHEAD, all one word, for a 25% discount. All right, all you positive heads. Welcome. Here we go again. So grateful to be with you as always. My never-ending quest to find a new way to emphasize my intro. Thanks for riding that one out. You guys are the best. I appreciate that. Today, wisdom begins in wonder is the subject that I would like to discuss. The topic, the great philosopher Socrates once said, wisdom begins in wonder. I want to discuss that a little bit. I want to take some unique paths to get there, though. And before I do jump into that topic, I would like to take a moment to read a review on iTunes. You guys know I love receiving iTunes reviews. Not only do they help us to reach new people, but certainly help to fuel my fire to continue this labor of love. And it's, iTunes being the holy grail of all things podcasting. It's a great thing to do if you want to help the show reach new people. Of course, you can always share with your friends and family. You can send smoke signals, telepathic messages. I accept all the things. This thing came in. This review came in from Sensei Coffee. I love you so much. And Sensei Coffee said, a review from the perspective of the not-so-perfect spiritual leader. I am a martial arts instructor and Zen teacher. As such, I try to guide my students toward the path of connecting with the greater. Even those that teach need guidance and help at times. I'd venture to say even more than those that do not teach. I started pointing pouring through the deep, dark parts of my young existence about 6 months ago in an attempt to heal old wounds. One of the things I found in that journey is the Positive Head podcasting community. And oh, how refreshing it is to have a place to come and be recharged and guided down a road I have walked for so long, yet still do not know nearly enough about. Thank you for the love, the guidance, and the positivity. Oh, thank you, Sensei Cafe, for that wonderful review. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I always say, you guys have heard me say for a long time, we teach best what we most need to learn. And we're all students first and teachers second, in my opinion. And so I know leadership, as Lao Tzu put it so eloquently, why is the sea king of 100 streams? Because it lies below them. Therefore, it is king of 100 streams. So serving, humility, understanding that you have, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So you got it. You are on the path, and I appreciate you taking the time to reflect back to me via that wonderful review. And with that being said, I'm going to jump right into this whole idea of wisdom beginning in wonder. And I saw this quote actually yesterday, and I just loved it. I'd never seen it before, by Socrates. And so short, sweet, powerful. And then I saw a question on the Facebook group this morning. And the wisdom begins in wonder popped in my head, and in combination in sort of my internal answer, because of course anytime I read a question, my brain instantly starts going with the answer, right? Or what I perceive to be the answer, my truth, my perspective on the answer. And so then I thought, well, I have addressed this as the questioner suggested. They said, I'd probably asked this multiple times, or had addressed it or been asked it multiple times before. But of course, circling these things is super important. Continuing to circle questions, thoughts, ideas, and getting deeper insight and rewiring our brains and hearts and minds to fully embody the new perspective that we're adopting. So it's, yes, I have received this question before, but tying it into this whole idea of bringing wonder to this question is new, fresh and clean. So this question came in by Veronica on the Positive Heads with an S Facebook group. And if you're not in the Facebook group, please come join us. It is a wonderful, wonderful collection of P-heads, sharing, connecting, asking questions, supporting each other, meeting up in 3D. It's such a wonderful thing to have watched blossom over the years. And it's a private group so that you can get personal, open up if there's anything, that you don't necessarily want the rest of Facebook land to see. And it's a safe, wonderful place to connect. So this question Veronica posted earlier today said, I have no doubt that this has been asked and answered multiple times before, but how do we believe in source energy and the universe and our ability to have everything we want when there are places in the world that are devastated with war and disease and hunger? Or when there are natural disasters that wipe out entire cities? And I'm sure many of you, like me, when you see this, there's probably a bunch of comments already, brilliant comments. That's one of the things, too, I love about the Facebook group. I love seeing you guys' comments. A lot of times, I don't respond, taking the time to respond or whatever, because, I'm doing lots of things and I do a lot of responding via this show, but I love seeing your responses because there's so much wisdom. There's so many bright lights in our group, and I just love you guys for that, and such beautiful reflections. But so yes, this has definitely been discussed a lot, and not in a while though. So first, this whole idea of wonder, bringing wonder to it, right? That's what instantly came up. We're looking at this, what Veronica, when you're asking this question, you're asking it from a place as if something is wrong, right? It's sort of assumptive that disease and hunger is bad, that natural disasters are bad. And I get it. There are relative truths. From a certain perspective, I would agree with you. I'm not seeking a natural disaster for me, my family, my friends, anyone for that matter. That being said, if that transpires, I am aware enough in my own understanding and belief in the ultimate nature of reality that it's always happening for us, not to us. always in all ways. And that's a big one for people to get. It's a huge one on the path back to remembering who and what we truly are. And that is, who and what are we? You may ask. Well, I've got an answer for you. And you are source. You are it all. The up, the down, the left, the right, the black, the white. Have you ever seen a painting that didn't have shadow in it? No, you certainly never seen a beautiful painting without shadow. And that's because the light needs the dark. The up needs the down. When you're an eternal being that's always been and always will be, right? You get pretty tired eating bonbons and, floating in nothing but clouds and, quote unquote goodness for eternity. Right? Eternity's a long time. I always use the example of take your biggest crush you've ever had in your life, whether it's a celebrity, musician, someone you knew, whatever it is. Think of the most attractive human you've ever dreamt of being with at any point in your life, right? Now, imagine being with that person, and that's a pretty good certainly at the time it was the huge crush in your life, right? It's I think back to the cover of my sister had the record. This is going way back. I was like a little kid, little boy, like 5 years old, and she had the record. She had a Xanadu, which was a movie, actually a magical movie. Some magic in that. I should go back and watch it again. But anyway, on the back of it was Olivia Newton-John. I remember, and being like 5 years old, and she was just like in this beautiful dress and like this, she was the main actress in the movie, I believe. If I haven't seen it, and I don't know, since I was a little kid, but even then, I think I only saw parts of it. But I just remember looking at the record on the back of this record, and this, beautiful woman. I'm like 5 years old. I'm like, oh, who is that? Like she is, and it was like my first big crush, right? So my 5-year-old self, or whoever it was later at 15 or 20 or whatever, like taking that huge crush and imagining being with them for eternity, right? Now, all of a sudden, it goes from being, just being with them for a little amount of time sounds amazing, right? Being with them for eternity, you talk about getting on your nerves. Anyone, imagine being with anyone, stuck in a box with them for eternity, right? But have separation from them, then get the experience, right? So we need the contrast. Take your favorite food, whatever it is, how delicious it would be after you had nothing but bread and water for 2 years, and then you had your very favorite meal ever. Okay, that meal would probably taste so extraordinary. I remember my brother years ago, he forgot to pay a ticket and he went to jail for a few days. He was like, he's super, super sensitive too. Like he's a cancer, very sensitive individual. And he went to jail, and it like was the most traumatic thing ever for a couple days for failing to pay a ticket, right? He had forgotten about, or, in his early 20s, super poor and didn't pay it, whatever it was. It wasn't a big deal what he did, but then they put him in jail, and he was in jail for like a couple days before he got out, and, in the holding area, and he got out, and I remember we got home at like 2 a.m, and I made him a Hot Pocket. And to this day, he says that was the best meal he ever had after spending a few days in jail, and not eating, and like, this awful experience. And here I am, like his brother who loves him, kind of taking care of him. It was a Hot Pocket, for God's sake. But he still says that was the best meal he ever had. And so imagine having your favorite meal after some horrible experience, or, just having bread and water for 10 years, right? Straight. But then have that favorite food every day for 1,000 years. It's going to get pretty not good. And so we need the contrast. Source needs the contrast. When we view these things as like something is wrong, there's something that's happened that shouldn't be happening. And I would challenge you to say that Source has never made a mistake in all of eternity. There's never been a victim in all of eternity. The soul that is experiencing whatever it is you're perceiving is an eternal being that can never ultimately be harmed. It can pretend to be harmed. It can pretend to have disease. It can pretend to experience hunger and get killed in a natural disaster. But guess what? Then it just finds itself still exists, and then it chooses again and takes the experience that it learned, and it grows as a result of it. And that is so clutch to understand. I'm not saying we shouldn't do what we can do to end any of these things, because our souls want to have the experience of ending these things. But that's a relative perspective. From the highest, grandest perspective, it's all in perfect sync and harmony. Everyone is getting exactly what they need to lead them to the next greatest and grandest version of themselves. And they're playing on a timeline that is timeless, no time. And so, we look at it from this limited perspective of this physical finite body. And if it, goes, then, oh my gosh, we've lost it all. And that's just not the case of what's happening. You're actually untouchable from the ultimate perspective. And we have all signed up to go into this crazy adventure journey called, 3D experience. And we wanted to experience it all. The up, the down, the left, the right, the good, the bad, quote unquote, if there were such a thing, right? And so once you understand that, then instead of looking at someone and saying, oh man, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean you won't do what you can to help them, because that's the experience you want to have. And actually that's a natural thing to feel, especially when you understand that they're an extension of you. It's like, oh, that's my whole aim. How do I lift everyone up? Who's ready to come out of dis-ease? Who's ready to, come together and let's create abundance. Let's come back to the light at this time in the journey. There's probably a time at some in eternity where this soul is doing the exact opposite, right? And that's perfect too. So it's wild to think about, right? Imagine me being really doing a podcast called Negative Head in some alternate timeline. I'm just hating on everything. It could happen. Oh man. But so, yeah, I mean, I look at that. You've heard me talk about it with my son's mother. We're like yin and yang. She's very dark and twisted perspective on her goddesshood, and it's very almost like possessed person. She can't even be in my son's life because she's so schizophrenic, dark, twisted, seems like a possessed person. And it's I can see it and say, wow, that's kind of fascinating. What a badass soul that you chose that, so that our son could have the experience of this light and dark figure that he wanted to have that unique journey of being a mix of these two things and finding balance and bringing balance to darkness and taking her genetic code and helping to, elevate it, remove it from suffering, right? Take it out. I think that's a fascinating way to view the world. It's just a fascinating, and I really do view her as her soul's probably so amazing and badass. And this is my own intuition on it, that she says, look, oh, Brandon, you want to have this super elevated experience? Bradley, you want to have, this super love-filled experience? Cool. Well, for the roots to reach that, or the branches to reach that high, the roots need to reach equally deep. And I love you so much, I'm willing to play that role and be the counterbalance. Isn't that a beautiful way to view it? Instead of, poor her, right? It's oh, wow, what an incredible gift. It's my favorite book of all time is The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. It's a children's book. I highly recommend. You can read it in 15 minutes. Even it's for adults, children. I mean, it's written as a children's book, but every adult should read it. Highly recommend getting it. And it explains this as the way it's all working. Other souls giving you the opportunity. If God, Source, wanted to experience forgiveness and all is perfect, who to forgive? Well, someone has to play that role. Someone has to go dark in order to give you that opportunity to be the emotion and energy of this thing called forgiveness, right? And they're doing it as a gift. It's always a gift. Conversations with God, and Neil Donald Walsh wrote that book too. He always says, I've sent you nothing but angels. And when you understand that, you're really onto something. And, I think of, the book Power vs. Force by David Hawkins, who's passed years back, but it's an incredible book that talks about, one of the big parts of it is the map of consciousness as we sort of go through our understanding of the way reality works, and we level up, so to speak, at our own unique point in the journey back to remembering, the very lowest, it's power versus force. Now, in force, the lowest level, essentially, is shame. And the emotion with that is humiliation. And then once you sort of elevate from shame, you come to guilt, and the emotion is blame. Then you level up a little bit through your human experiences over lifetimes to apathy. The emotion for that is despair. This is still in the red, right? It's in a color chart. It's like still pretty low, right? Then you kind of struggle and learn and experience, and you kind of crawl through the mud. The lotus is coming through the mud. It's grief now. And the emotion without is regret. Now the bud of the lotus is coming just slightly to the surface, and now you're in fear, right? And the emotion with that is anxiety. From there, desire. And the emotion is craving. Then anger. Oh, you're getting close. Now you've got energy, right? You're motivated. You're angry. Your emotion is hate. Now you're getting into those three were orange, right? Now you're into the yellow next. You're right on the line going from force to power. You're at pride, right? And your emotion is scorn. This is very close to the crossing line from force into power. You jump into this next neutral point, courage. Your emotion becomes affirmation. You go from courage, now it's starting into power, neutrality. You're neutral. Your emotion becomes trust. Then you go from neutrality to willingness. Your emotion becomes optimism. Then you go level up to acceptance, and your emotion becomes forgiveness. From acceptance, it's reason next. The emotion is understanding. From reason to love, the emotion is reverence. From love to joy, the emotion is serenity. From joy to peace, the emotion is bliss. From peace to enlightenment, the emotion is ineffable. You can't even explain what it's like to be there. Pure consciousness, God's self, right? And that's the journey. We're all somewhere in there most of the time. We probably jump around, but where are you in that chart? You know, if you see as this book talks about as an example, I recall reading it years ago, you know, you see the homeless person on the side of the road. Are you at the point in your level of consciousness that you look at them and think, oh, I feel so sorry for them. Like, wow, that's so pitiful. They're repugnant even, right? Oh, look at them, you know, or just, I'm sorry. I feel bad for them actually. Oh, that's a little sweeter, right? Or maybe it's now anger towards them. Get a job, you bum. Don't you know we all work for a living around here? What's your problem? Meanwhile, most of the people you see like that have mental health issues, right? But I digress. So anyway, but that's a perspective people take. Now, what if you move to, I'm sort of indifferent about it. You're neutral about it. I trust it's happening for some reason. I don't really know exactly what it is, but okay. Oh, what if all of a sudden you weren't going to acceptance or even intrigue? Wow, how interesting that this homeless person is actually, I understand that's actually source in disguise. Like Ram Dass said, treat everyone as if they're God in drag, right? I understand that's God in drag. And that's such a powerful, fractal of the divine source consciousness that it's so brave and bold that it chose to have that experience when it really has it all. It chose to leave it behind so that it could experience having nothing but that park bench it's sleeping on and the cart it's pushing with a brain that is maybe not quite up to par. It's like running in a beater car, right? The brain is kind of broken. It's not working right. The fuel being put in the tank isn't good fuel. It's sputtering, and so therefore the consciousness is not coming through. Certainly in its highest form, its highest self is not really living through. And I think back, I forget who it was who was talking about this on the show recently. It was one of my recent interviews, and he was saying how he can tap into people's higher self or miraculous self. It's a guy, I think, who was talking about the miraculous self, and he, if I recall, and he was saying, he would always send blessings to people. You'd see on the he would see on the side of the, homeless people or whatever when he's walking around, and all of a sudden he got like a clear image from the person, that homeless person's higher self saying, do you feel I need your blessing? I need something from you? Like, and he said it kind of took him back, like, whoa, okay, all right, maybe not. All right. I got you. Never mind. I won't offer. But it's interesting. Like, we have such narrow bandwidth on how we view reality and what's going on, and the stories that are taking place out there. They're all perfect. They're all divine. They're in, otherwise God is making a mistake, right? Source has never made a mistake. It's perfect. It's divine. It's pure perfection, right? By definition, according to every, even organized religion. So, let's apply that, shall we? Let's start living with that lens, that higher self, expanded self, miraculous self, God self's lens, the way it views reality, and then watch the experiences shift. That all the negative energy and emotion that comes up from seeing something happen that you wouldn't choose and prefer to happen, right? But now that you're seeing from the eyes of your master self, your higher self, you say, okay, I wouldn't have chose for that natural disaster to happen, but I trust completely. It's happening exactly as it should. It's all in divine order, and I embrace whatever shows up because I know it's exactly what's needed for me or anyone who's experiencing whatever they're experiencing to grow into the next greatest, grandest version of their selves. And that is the way. That is the path that we navigate this 3D reality. That's the future of your navigation. That's the new lens you look through. And that lens is leading you to experiences that are well beyond what your former self had. And so much gratitude for your former self to have a narrower vision so that you can have the contrast to make it all taste good, right? So the meal tastes a lot better than it used to. No more eating and swallowing, regret and shame and feeling sorry for people and all those things, right? When it's not necessary. It's based off of a perspective that just doesn't fully understand. And a lot of you are so sensitive, like my brother, so many of you are empaths, and you're feeling everything. And so it hurts, until you start shifting your perspective, and that helps you to expand. And when you expand, you can fit more. And when you can fit more, your life reflects more abundance, more joy, more peace, more of the things you'd wish to see in it. So I challenge you to go out and instead of carrying all that heavy energy, put on the eyes of wonder and marvel at the magic and the sheer perfection of it. Because when you cross over, that's what you're going to zoom out and see. You're going to weep at the beauty, the tapestry of utter perfection that is taking place, where everyone is always getting exactly what they need and co-create. Wisdom begins in wonder. Indeed, it's true. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Ready to sprout my wings with this song that I'm leaving you guys with today. It is Ataya. The song is called Wings. Hope you enjoy. Till next time, journey well. Love you so, so much. Also, before we cue up today's song, I wanted to let you all know that we have finally created the Game with the Universe on our website, where you can choose the first number that comes to your mind, and it'll pull up that episode number of the podcast. I've been saying this is a great way to co-create synchronicity and magic with your higher self for quite some time by doing this manually. But now if you go to positivehead.com/YO universe, there is a super fun and simple interface to play this game with your higher self. I firmly believe just by setting the intention to play in this way, it opens up the door for magic, and it's a synchronistic way to hone in on nuggets of wisdom out of the huge catalog of episodes that are specifically appropriate for you at this time in your journey to becoming the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. And it also makes for a super fun way to engage and invite friends, family, people on social media to check out the podcast as well. So be sure to check out positivehead.com/YOUNIVERSE, and be sure to tell all your friends so they can play a game with the universe, which also helps the show to reach new people, which I greatly appreciate. And as a quick reminder, be sure to also check out positivehead.com/transformation if you're curious to learn more about Purium superfoods and why I take them every day. On this journey of becoming the next greatest and greatest version of ourselves that we have all embarked upon, I can't stress the importance of managing your physical vibration enough. And quite honestly, Purium has put together the simplest plan I've found to do so, and I'm sincerely excited to share it with all of you. Lastly, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear me constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out.